it's easier said than done, but you should just do it because you started your company for a reason. You saw a gap in the market, you've talked to consumers, you saw that there was, something you could do to help them, and you have that passion to even develop a whole company around that. So use that core that made you start your business as kind of a boost of confidence. Like, you're serving people, you have paying customers, so people do value what you bring to the table, and just do it.
Welkom bij Women Disrupting Tech. Mijn naam is Dirk-Jan Hupkes en in deze podcast ga ik op ontdekkingsreis in de wereld van vrouwen in de technologiesector. Ik ga in gesprek met vrouwen die in tech werken of oprichter zijn van een tech-startup. Ik ga op zoek naar het antwoord op de vraag hoe zij er wel in geslaagd zijn om succes te hebben. Met andere woorden, hoe zij de technologiesector disrupten. Luister je mee? Hey, welcome back. Today's podcast episode is about my favorite topic, content marketing for startups and scale-ups, and I get a chance to interview Livia Hirsch about this. Now, Livia helps B2B SaaS scale-ups grow their visibility from local to global, and she already helped clients like Lead Info, Wild Digital, and Rentman do this. In this episode, we'll talk about the power of good copywriting and blogging, and we'll explore how these forms of content marketing can benefit startups and scale-ups. We'll also discuss her new workshop in which she helps fellow freelancers find their brand voice, and of course, we'll talk about Livia's own journey in the world of startups and scale-ups. So welcome to Women Disrupting Tech, Livia Hirsch. So, welcome, Livia. The question I always ask at the start of the podcast is how you got into your current job or how you got into your current position.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's really cool to be able to talk about content marketing with you today. So to be honest, it all kind of started off with a passion for creative writing.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I've always enjoyed doing ever since I was a child. But until a few years ago, I was kind of clueless about the world of content marketing. I thought if you wanted to write for a living, you had to be an author.
Mm-hmm.
And then I landed an internship at Dept agency as a content marketing intern. And that internship changed my life. I discovered the world of content marketing and combined that with an amazing mentor who answered all my questions, who gave me so much trust. I flourished pretty much. And so I went from being an intern to part timer to full timer once my studies were done. But then when COVID hit, half of my team, including myself, was let go. But many of my colleagues went to work at startups. And when they needed English content, they turned to me. And that's how I
Oh.
discovered the awesomeness of working with founders and growing their content marketing machine from
Mm-hmm.
scratch. And so that's been my focus for the last few years. It's helping Dutch or foreign startups reach international markets via English content and web copy.
Cool. You don't have a background in marketing, though. As I understand it, you have a background in fashion. So, how does that match up?
Well, in my defense, it was business of fashion with a specialization in marketing. So there's
Ah.
minor overlap, but
Mm-hmm.
yes, I did study fashion. And what I realized is I do not want to work in that industry. So when I found an internship at an agency, I was really interested. It was something kind of in my field, but also quite different. And so it could have, there's the potential of it being a breath of fresh air. And so with a bit of luck and research, actually, that's how I found my passion for
Yeah.
content marketing, something which I'm not only good at, but also love doing.
Okay. Well, that is very important.
Yeah.
Um, you talked about having a mentor. Um, what exactly did she or he do to make you flourish?
She gave me, I mean, she trusted me for starters. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of trust. I remember that there were certain assignments that potentially she just allowed me to have and experiment and do that not everyone would allow an intern, but there was a high level of trust. She gave me a lot of feedback,
Mm-hmm.
which, but I was okay with that. That's how you grow. And she also gave me a lot of patience. She answered, I mean, I love learning, so I'm always asking questions. And yeah, she answered all of them, and she allowed me to pick her brain and ask more questions. And I would say, yeah, that was pretty invaluable.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially if you're just starting out
No.
as an intern and later as a part-timer. I can imagine that the what was more important to you, the trust or the sort of independent or the feedback that you got?
Ooh. I would say the feedback because I like in my writing, she would give me super detailed feedback about the brand voice, about the wording. Like she was borderline nitpicky, but it was helping me learn a lot. So she was a quite a harsh critic, but then when you did good things, she would also tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say the feedback and knowing that if I did something, I could always then ask her, okay, so what could I have done differently? What could
Mm-hmm.
I do better? But okay, what went well? um, yeah, the feedback was invaluable.
Okay. So let's go to content marketing. Let's dive in deep. Uh, why do you think it's important, especially important for startups and scale-ups? How can it help?
Well, content marketing is really important because okay, start at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
um, Scale ups and well, startups and scale ups need to be able to stand out from the crowd. They're often looking to generate more eyeballs on their offering, and they need that people need to know that they exist. But they also want to retain their limited customer base because they don't want to lose them to bigger competitors in the
Mm-hmm.
market, which is a very real threat. And pretty much content marketing nails all those helps them hit all those nails on the head.
Yeah.
So it helps them achieve all of that. It highlights their personality, their expertise. It can also help you passively nurture leads via different formats of content. And it shows your awesomeness, how you're knowledgeable about certain topics, which can all help you stand out from the crowd. So ensuring people buy from you and not anybody else.
Okay. And how does social media marketing play into this?
Social media is really important. It acts as a megaphone for your brand, pretty much. So you can use it to promote and distribute your content to a wider audience, giving
Mm-hmm.
your brand awareness a boost. It's another platform also for you to share your personality and your expertise and shout, metaphorically speaking, from how you're different from your competitors. So it's really important that it content marketing and social media marketing go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Be present on the platforms that your target audience is on. Connect with them, listen to them, be a part of conversations by posting or commenting, and keep building that awareness for your brand and your offering.
Okay, so generally, I don't know about you, but what I found out over time is that startups have basically two problems. One is with content marketing. One is that they know they have a lot of knowledge, but they don't have a lot of time to uh, put that online. And the second is, uh, yeah, what people refer to as imposter syndrome. Why should they listen to me? I'm just a startup. How can you give me some feedback on both of those arguments?
Yeah, no, those are very valid. I think the first one is the one I encounter the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that there it's starting small, and knowing why you want to post content. So don't do it because your competitors are doing it. Have a really clear reason why you want to post, and then
Mm-hmm.
start small. If you don't have time to write 5 blogs per month, start with one. If you're really struggling with LinkedIn and building your personal brand, start by commenting a bit more and then one post a week. You don't have to instantly go 0 to 100. So
Mm-hmm.
start, if you want to start posting blogs, okay, start with how many per month is the dream goal, and break that down. How can you achieve, what does that mean? So you want to post 2 blogs per month. How much time would that take you? If it takes you 8 hours, okay, would that be a day that you'd prefer to block off, or would that be 2 days or 8 hours over a week? So really breaking it down into concrete goals can really make it feel more manageable.
Mm-hmm.
And then as for imposter syndrome, I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
Posting on LinkedIn.
Uh-huh.
Um, I would say that it's it's easier said than done, but you should just do it because you started your company for a reason. You saw a gap in the market, you've talked to consumers, you saw
Mm-hmm.
that there was, something you could do to help them, and you have that passion to even develop a whole company around that. So use
Yes.
that core that made you start your business as kind of a boost of confidence. Like, you're serving people, you have paying customers, so
Mm-hmm.
people do value what you bring to the table. And just do it. I'm gonna be, yeah, kind of cliche and say just try it and get feedback, because especially with content marketing, there's not too much that can go wrong. Worst case scenario, you publish a blog and nobody sees it. You've wasted time, but you haven't wasted any money. You haven't, nothing's bad's happened. So you can just, you can see, why have people not seen it, or hear from customers, oh, that's not what you wanted to hear from me. So then we need to write a different blog. But also the negative is pretty small.
Yeah. And the negative is there anyway.
No,
It's as we say in Holland, you have the no, you can get the yes.
no, no,
Yeah. So yeah, I think those are both valid points. Also, really to start from, I like the one about starting from your own core um, reason why you do this, and the fact that especially if you have paying customers, there's apparently there's a story to be told.
yeah.
And even
People
if you
value.
don't, I think it's really important to share the knowledge and the wisdom you've built up,
No,
because you're serving people, and that's basically the mindset I train people to have. Look at this from a serving perspective, not necessarily from um, putting your hand on your chest and saying, "How, hey, look at me being wonderful."
no, yeah. It's not about you. It's about your
No,
customers.
yeah, that's what people who comment negatively or mostly forget. It's that you have a journey to share, that it's inspiring to others.
No, no,
So,
exactly.
so let's switch to copywriting a bit. So, as I understand it, you write copy for websites and social media, and for blogs. That's
Hmm.
quite specific work. Um,
Yeah.
is there a specific process that you use to write, for instance, a blog post?
There is. I've just over the years refined refined my own system, luckily.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually help my clients not only with writing, but also setting an agenda and deciding on content ideas. So always start with choosing a topic. That's kind of the base. And so this topic will be based on your audience pain points, your audience desires, and also oftentimes SEO research will be embedded in there. And then once you have a topic, I start off by researching. So before I can even write, I will read a lot. So this helps me understand what to cover in the blog, what not to cover, what everyone else is saying, the questions I have after reading through a lot of material. So I'll read what competitors have written about it, and also like the first 3 to 5 pages of Google search results on the topic, and then I'll Google more questions I have and see how that topic is maybe connected to another topic. So pretty much I go down a rabbit hole and just fill my head with information.
Mm-hmm.
And during this time, I'll take notes. So this helps me craft an outline for a blog. It'll include statistics, questions, sections to include, answers that people often gave, or things to not say because that's been covered. So the outline will form during the research. And then, if possible, I'll take a small break because after researching, it's good to digest all the information and your brain kind of keeps making connections. So I'll just go for a walk, maybe, or
Yeah.
cook. And then from there, I'll get to writing. So because my outline's pretty complete, yeah, the writing part's pretty easy by that point. So I'll just write up a first draft and let that sit, and then revisit it again. So editing words, my maybe grammar mistakes, making paragraphs more powerful, or removing sentences that don't make sense or that don't add anything. So this is when the blog really comes together,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's it, and then it's done. So I'll send it to the client for a read through, and on average that process takes me about 5 to 6 hours in total for a lengthy blog of about 2,000 words.
So that's including the research that you do,
Yeah.
because that's quite quick.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's about 3.5, 4 hours, so I'll spend more than 50% of the time researching, and often
Yeah.
even when writing I'll do a bit more research because I'll be like, oh, like somebody mentioned this, where did they get this statistic, or somebody, so
Yeah.
it'll come
Really,
up again.
really been through to find the core.
No, no.
Okay. That's yeah. The way I do it is usually do also start with the try to find a good topic, but I always start writing the outline, the sort of argumentation tree, so the point that I want to make sure that it ends at the call to action, and then I start doing a lot of research indeed. But I
Mhm.
generally I take a bit more time reading it, all those links, finding out what others say, also finding relevant authors.
No,
So not all. Also looking at the first 3 to 5 pages. Not I'm a huge nitpicker on, okay, this is a relevant competitor. Oh yeah, maybe this is, like, I work for a medical startup, or two medical startups now, and I try to avoid the competitors with pharmaceutical solutions because both are not in that space.
no, no.
So that's a
Well,
bit
and I don't doubt their research is even more important in the
yeah,
medical sector. But also, something to be wary of that I always pay attention to is when you find statistics, how old are they and
yeah.
where are they from? Because they'll be
Hmm.
like, I remember once I was writing a blog and everybody was citing that exact same statistic. It was like, people are using the exact same word every single time. Is that because that's actually true, or because one person jumped on the hype train? And
Yeah.
so making sure that statistics, that they're true when they're cited, that is what they meant and not something else, because it can be very easy to let off a part of a sentence and be like 30% of people said this. It might not always be black and white.
No. Yeah, there's this famous 95% of startups fail statistics, and I
Yeah,
found
yeah.
out that it's not really 95%, not even close to 95%, to
Wow.
be
Wow.
completely
So
honest.
what's the actual statistic?
I don't remember, but it's somewhere around the 50 to 70% mark. So it's like really
Wow.
way, way, way lower.
Yeah.
And I was like, but the statistic originally was, if I remember, if I researched this correctly, I think it was about starting companies. So that's a lot of companies fail in the first 6 months. Why?
Mm,
Because they run out of money, they run out of ideas, or life takes over.
no.
And if you include that, yeah, then 95% of
Mm,
starting companies fail. But do they really
mm,
fail?
no.
Or
No.
do they just find out, hey, there's different things to be done?
No. 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 It's really
Which
about
I
the
don't.
wording.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, it's and especially when once you're past the funding, first funding round. So generally angels or seed and pre-seed, then still the number is quite high, but then it goes down to the around 50, 60% mark, I think.
Mm. Mm.
But there's
Debunking
a,
myths.
and still everyone starts a blog with 95% of startup fails.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
not really.
that's, yeah. Ah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So I want to switch a bit to marketing strategy because setting up a blog and doing the research up front, deciding where to what to write about is also a bit about strategy. Um, um, what makes a good strategy for startups and scale ups and beyond? Of course, it should align with objectives and match with your brand voice and what have you.
I mean, that's a really good question, and I don't doubt those are common answers. And honestly, if you hadn't said apart from that, I would have given them too,
Yeah.
because they're good. They're good basics to remember. They are
Mm,
important. Um, but there are a few other aspects to keep in mind when creating a content strategy. And the first I'd say is that your strategy is based on your audience, not your company. So your audience should always be at the forefront of your marketing efforts. So provide your marketing person or team with customer insights. Talk to your sales, talk to your
mhm,
customer success, give them your buyer's persona. Hear what is issues towards conversion. What are our customers saying once they've tried our software? Make sure that the marketeer in your company really is armed of all of that knowledge because that'll help shape your content strategy.
mhm,
I would also include a distribution process within your content strategy, meaning think how you'll use each piece of content beyond just publishing it on your website. Will you post it on LinkedIn? Will you share it via email? Will your sales team use it in conversations with leads or at events? You want to maximize the use of each piece of content rather than mass publish. And if you think even before you start to write how you'll use each piece, that can really also help simplify and make the workflow of creating content more efficient. Because you're like, oh, I'm creating an FAQ. We're also going to publish it on LinkedIn, one question per week, and we're going to share a hint of it in a newsletter. You can kind of do all of it in one go.
yeah, and
Um,
that way you what I learned, you also repurpose the content that you create anyway, so it's
yeah,
much more efficient, right?
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like it's not just then later on you have 45 blogs and you're like, oh, what do I do with these now? And you have to rethink about it, do all the thinking beforehand so that then the creation process is also just more streamlined and more efficient. And this is really important when you're, a startup or a scale up, and often your marketing team is like one or two people. You
Hmm.
really want to make sure that you're making the most of every marketing asset and touch point that you have.
Yeah.
Um, and then another thing that I would say is include content audits every quarter. So when you revisit, what's been working, what's not, look at what you've published. What did well? What could be better? What could be used more? What tanked? Because not everything's going to be not everything's going to be a winner.
Hmm.
But you don't want to let your published content sit on a shelf and gather dust. Use,
Yeah.
what you learn about it as feedback. What did people like? What did Google like in terms of ranking? What keywords performed well? What pages were really visited? Um, and use that to optimize your content strategy and gather more information about your customer preferences.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the top three that are elements that are often forgotten. The list
Yeah.
could go on. There are
Yeah.
definitely some other aspects, but I would say those are the top three that
Okay.
I
And
think companies often forget about.
yes, absolutely. Um, in terms of KPIs, what kind of KPIs would you then link to those?
Ooh, so I don't have one straightforward answer
Hmm.
because I would say you should match your KPIs to the stage of the sales funnel and the goal that you're looking to achieve with each piece of content,
Hmm.
because not all content serves the same role. So, for
Yeah.
example, if you're focusing on raising your brand awareness, something which I often work with startups, that's usually the goal of the first 6 months of publishing blogs,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
raise our brand awareness.
Yeah.
So you want to be sure that you're writing high level, more SEO friendly content. Well, for looking at KPIs for that, you might look at the number of new website visitors coming to your site, time spent on page, and scroll depth. That'll all tell you, okay, are people liking it? Are people reading it?
Hmm.
However, if you recently published like a frequently asked questions page or a competitor comparison site, you might want to look at the number of signups generated for that page or click through rate to another important page like your pricing page,
Hmm.
or contact requests, because that would be more for bottom of the funnel type of content.
Mm-hmm.
So every piece of content should have its own rules and therefore, yeah, their own KPIs that should match that.
Clear. Uh, so you help companies find their brand voice,
Yeah.
and you also have a workshop about that for freelancers, which
Yeah.
we'll discuss in a bit. But what is a brand voice?
Well, you probably want your online voice to sound a certain way when you write. You want to communicate certain aspects of your brand or your personality. So your brand voice is just that. It's your personality. It's how you show up across all forms of communication, from your website copy to a LinkedIn post to blogs, newsletters, all of that. But let's make it a bit more concrete just to give you an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you go to a dinner party. How would you show up? How would people describe you? Are you outgoing and loud? Are you bubbly and the one talking with everybody? Are you a
Mm-hmm.
bit more quiet and reflective and talking about very deep conversations with one or two people?
Yeah.
And what would you be talking about? What topics do you want to avoid? That dinner party guest is like your brand voice. So that's kind of how I always like to picture it for my clients.
Okay. And do you take that from, let's say, the founder perspective? So do you really personalize that around the founder, or do you uh, take a sort of hybrid that or avatar that would work for the customer?
It really depends on the stage of the company. So if it really is just like small startup with a
Mm-hmm.
team of like three, then it would be more of the founder's perspective. And it's also obviously the customer, their target audience, and their offering does play a role in all of that. But it
Mm-hmm.
would be based on the founder's perspective. If it's more of a scale up where they already have, 15, 20 employees, it might be founder, CEO, CMO, maybe head of sales or somebody, like all the right decision makers would all get a say. And then it would be a bit more of an interactive process where everybody gets to get a bit of a say and help decide rather than just one person, because by that point, the founder might not be as involved or might not be the only one dictating all the decisions in the company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how do you do this in terms of content approval? Because you also send blogs and I guess also social media posts to the back to the customer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you then ask for input from only the person, so let's say the chief marketing officer or the person responsible for marketing, or just do you also involve other people?
I think it quite depends. I would say, yeah, it really depends per client. Some of them I've had the CMO and the founder look at it.
Mm-hmm.
However, oftentimes I do try and keep it to one person, because the more people you have involved, the more feedback you get, the messier it gets, and the more, well, I prefer this or I prefer
Yeah.
that kind of feedback you get,
Mm-hmm.
which is more difficult to work with than actually this is not what we do and this a customer wouldn't resonate with.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the client, I'd say. But I try and keep it at one person, and in order to achieve that, usually beforehand there'll be a lot of, like, I'll ask for a product demo and a chat with the CMO to
Mm-hmm.
understand the brand voice, the persona. So get a lot of background information and show that I can understand it. So that then also when I present them with a piece of content, it reflects everything they've already given to me.
Yeah, and especially that last bit is really important to
Yeah.
them too. So many startups are still, especially early stage, they're still changing a lot. Um how do you then find your brand voice in a way that it's sort of some continuous continuity to it, or do you let the change be the continuous factor in that?
I mean, a bit in that, like, developing your brand voice is an ongoing process. It's not
Hmm.
a one-off thing that you do that then cool, these are a brand voice forever
Yeah,
and we can never change. So it should definitely evolve with you as your company evolves.
yeah.
Um, so, always keep in mind your target audience, your competitors, and your brand values. And as those change, it's definitely good to adapt your brand tone of voice. Um, so yeah, periodically I'd say review it. Like what you start off with, ideally your branding is always going to be your core.
Hmm.
So that will evolve, but it's not going to dramatically change 180. And it'll be
Yeah.
the same with your brand voice. ideally it'll evolve, but you're not going to go from being the funny, friendly neighbor next door to super serious, 100, like only professional, whatnot. Like that would alienate the target base that you've
Yeah.
accumulated.
Mm-hmm.
But it is good to review it. So periodically, once a year, review your company position, your brand voice, and adjust it. Learn like, oh, people have found that our more personal content and funny side really resonates with them. So let's make sure that our content is a bit more fun.
Yeah.
You can definitely, yeah, evolve it like that as long as you keep reviewing it. Yeah, I'd say about once a year. And then make sure that you have a plan to train and educate all of your employees on every year what that means, what is your
Uh-huh.
tone of voice,
Yeah.
yeah, how that impacts them in their all forms of communication. Because I think that's
Mm.
usually the biggest disconnect is decision stake like C-level executives will have this great idea and then the salesperson that's calling is like, I don't know what that means for me.
Yeah.
So making sure that you update your employees every single time that you make a small change.
Communication about that is really important, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it can often be forgotten,
Yeah.
but that's something I've done usually when I help companies decide their on well, um, not decide, but find their brand voice. Usually, one of the biggest things I'll do after is create a PowerPoint and do a presentation for the whole team. And whenever somebody new comes in, customer success or another freelancer or a marketeer, I'll present to them that tone of voice so everybody knows what it is.
Yeah, and that's incredibly important to do that handover, and
Yeah,
also good to, think to review the brand voice to make sure there's you have a point in time where you say, okay, now we can develop it a bit further, and I guess also that's where the audits come in, the content audits come in,
yeah,
because
yeah.
then you find out what works for your customer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So audit your brand, audit your content. It's good to always kind of reflect, especially as you're growing.
Mhm.
The first 5, 10 years, it's really good to kind of see, okay, what's been going well, what hasn't.
Yeah. So I have an arrangement with one of my previous guests, Jacqueline van den Ende, to make this podcast irrelevant in around 10 years from now. And irrelevant here means that diversity in tech does not need a lot of attention anymore because it's considered normal. Maybe then the topic is still relevant, but who knows? But what would be your content marketing advice to achieve this? What things should I do?
Ooh, really good question. I love this. I would say for starters, yeah, keep the conversation going. So, keep chatting about it, keep bringing this issue front and center, keep bringing a light to it. However, for me, I would say rather than highlighting it as a like very obvious of like like we need more women in tech and whatnot, yeah, highlighting success stories,
Yeah,
highlighting different areas of expertise, highlighting in passively how we can make this happen and achievements and or room for improvement, because I think the doom and gloom and the keep being super obvious is what turns people off. However, managing to embed that conversation somehow in almost every aspect of people's lives is
yeah,
then really gets people thinking and just odd, like even subconsciously. So I think being a part of the conversation but not in an obvious way
no.
is really the biggest way of doing it. And then hopefully, yeah, down the line you don't have to be a part of the conversation because people don't even like people realize it and it's just part of our way of thinking and it's
Hmm?
no longer a thing anymore.
Yeah, and I like also the part about uh, putting a positive spin on it, like highlighting people who have been or women who have been successful.
No.
I think that's an important part. That will be
Yeah.
an important part of the success of this
No.
podcast.
No, I mean
That
that comes from the fact that, for example, the narrative of global warming, they've shown that
yeah,
showing the doom and gloom over and over again
yeah,
is actually like turning people off from the conversation. And so now there's years of, oh, we're all gonna, the world's gonna end in 2030, the world, like the oceans are gonna rise and whatnot. There's
mm.
years of undoing of work because that doesn't resonate. And after a while, people are just like, I don't know what to do about it. So I'm not gonna try to, have women be a part of tech because nothing I do I can't help. It's not empowering.
Is it also about that it's considered too difficult? Not because we don't know how to do it, but because there are so many things you have to take into account. That
Yeah. And it's also like, what can I do? Me as
yeah,
my little,
yeah.
one person team. What can I do about it? I mean, I can, talk to my friends, but that's it. And what does that do? So I don't know how I can make an impact, but individuals can sometimes make the biggest impact.
I was about to say, especially talking to friends and family about it. I think that's a really wonderful thing to do.
I would
If
agree.
if if you do it positively and out of passion, not
No,
necessarily thou shall do this or the world will end if we don't do this.
yeah,
Because I do agree with the point you made about the climate. It's sometimes made everyone knows that we have a problem, and it's sometimes we sort of miss the fun factor in it.
no. I mean, what am I
Or the
supposed to do about it? I
yeah,
turn off all my lights when I'm not in a room.
yeah,
Now what? No,
yeah.
no.
So sounds like a good point to go to the last question in the conversation. Um, you have a workshop coming up.
Hmm.
Uh, Perhaps you can tell us a bit about what that workshop is about. Brand voice, of course, but
Yeah.
how it can help also startups and scale ups.
Well, I'll be honest, right now the workshop is geared towards very small teams slash more freelancers, so
Uh,
teams of one to
uh-huh.
three. But yeah, it's pretty much it's more towards freelancers or startups where it really is one or two people, so small scale, and it's to pretty much help you find your personality online and make sure that you're coming off in an authentic manner when you're writing, so that people know who you are, love your personality, are attracted to you for your personality, and so pretty much you're attracting your ideal client and you're repelling people you don't want to work with, all via just your content online. So in 2 hours, I help freelancers or founders, yeah, find their brand voice based on their target audience and their offering. And then we'll go. The bulk of the time will be spent on defining those adjectives that you want to embody. What does that mean for you? How will it show up? How will it not show up? And we'll also write a post together, so that therefore you can really practice hands-on. Yeah, how does that
Yeah,
mean? Because
yeah.
it's one thing to have an idea, it's another to then be like, okay,
To
now
execute on
what?
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So we also do that together in the workshop to really be sure that you understand. And but I will highlight the fact that no matter what, it's good to experiment. So when you're just starting off, play around with
yeah,
it, play with what feels good, play with tweaking the wording
yeah.
and kind of how you want to come off. Because yeah, that's then when you really try and embody those adjectives and how you want to show up.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where can find people find the information about the workshop and about the other work you do?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn's the best platform to connect with me for now. So yeah, look me up. I'm Livia Hirsch, and feel free to reach out and connect with me. Say hi. That's also where you can find out more information about the workshop, or for example, let me know what you thought about this episode of podcast.
Yeah,
So yeah, LinkedIn is where to find me.
good. And we'll include the examples and the links to the workshop and to your LinkedIn profile in the show notes. So,
Nice.
Livia, thanks for this wonderful conversation. And listeners, thanks for listening. See
Yeah.
you next time.
Thank you so much for your time. It was really fun to chat with you today.
Yeah, it was. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for listening. Livia and I hope that you enjoyed our conversation. You can find all the links to Livia's website, social media profiles, and to her workshop in the show notes, and those you can find at womendisruptingtech.blog. On womendisruptingtech.blog, you can also subscribe to updates so you are the first to learn when new episodes go on air. If you want to listen to more episodes of Women Disrupting Tech, please follow the podcast on Spotify, Apple, and Google. And if you do, we'd love for you to leave us a review or a rating because that way you help others discover this podcast. And if you want to contribute to the goal of having more diversity in tech, please share this podcast with friends, family, and coworkers because this way you give my guests the platform they need to make this podcast irrelevant 10 years from now. Finally, if you want to connect with me, you can do that via the website and via my LinkedIn profile. Just look up my name and you'll find me. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in the next episode.